we've just literally had a conversation about tarot cards, which literally helps us bring into this episode some of the things that we want to talk about, right? So today we have Allison, who is our wonderful guest. We're going to let you introduce yourself, Allison.
So I'm Allison Gilbert. I am a director of DE&I. I work in the media industry in the UK, and as you can hear, I'm American.
Woo.
But but I've lived in the UK for 10 years. I've lived in Europe for a lot of, not all of my adult life. And my background is really actually in political organizing for reproductive rights in the United States, and political communications, cultural studies. But I've found my way into doing DE&I work, and that's where I've been for the past 5-ish years on a full-time basis, I would say.
And that is so important to us on this pod. Literally, we've just gotten off another episode where we've talked about it. So we are super excited and really happy to have you here, Allison, and all the amazing things you do. So if anyone didn't catch that, Allison is very cool.
Yes.
Maybe.
She is. And also very American, which is why another reason why she's here.
Is right to tell onto the pod.
And it's interesting because you did like culture studies and political things, and now you're with us doing that, but like towards yourself, because we're gonna like talk about American culture.
Which is weird for me.
As I was like writing about it, I was like, this is gonna be so weird.
It is.
But very interesting.
Very interesting. Super exciting for us as well.
Definitely. So we're just gonna crash into it, and you've been here for 10 years. And what are the biggest like culture shocks being an American in the UK?
There are some, which is weird because I would say that our countries are like cousins in a lot of ways. Like our country is born of the UK, let's be honest. So, you know, a lot of the issues that the United States is dealing with, and obviously I'm thinking about like issues pertaining to politics and DE&I because that's the space I work in, are really born of British policies. And so it's an interesting contrast to see the way that these things play themselves out country to country, the perspective that the general public tends to take on these issues. I would say that we've got a lot more in common than I think the people here might wish to admit.
I'd agree with that.
Definitely. But I think, so I just want to caveat a few things. You know, like first, I was born and raised in Concord, New Hampshire, which is in northern New England. It is a beautiful, wonderful place with very community-oriented people. It's a relatively affluent state, you know, a great education system. I kind of have like a really like nice, like ideal like childhood upbringing. You know, so when I'm talking about America, I'm speaking really more from the perspective of a northern New England gal, less the rest of the country. I can't say for certain I would have this perspective if I was raised somewhere else in the US. So I just want to caveat that. And I also want to caveat before we get into this that I am a British passport holder.
Okay. Well, look at you.
Yes. I did all the things. I did all the paperwork. I did all the tests. I paid all the money. A lot
all
of the money.
Cash.
Yes. So I can speak to this. I know I don't have the right accent. Some people are not going to like hearing someone with my accent say these things, but I've got the license.
Yeah, you did.
I just want to put that out there.
No, I think it's great that you put that out there because that test is bloody hard. I've seen some of the questions and I'm like, how do people do this? I didn't have to do one, by the way, because I applied before being an adult. Well done to you, and great for caveating that.
Thanks. But so I would say, you know, from just kind of like an everyday culture perspective, there is a difference. And I know that this is part of the reason why you wanted to have me here to talk, which is just really around, I think, kind of like a general public outlook, I would say, and like mode of operating. I would say some things that the UK does well is, you know, really kind of interrogating things and the veracity of information. I think that that's really important. You know, not too quick to like, you know, propel things forward just based on like kind of an insight, which I think is wise.
Yeah.
I also think that there's like a lot more cynicism here though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's like the one thing that like I really kind of beef with a little bit. And, you know, that's not to say like I don't like cynical people. Like, you know, again, like cynicism to an extent might be healthy. Some might argue. I tend to take the perspective, not really. I think it's kind of like a hope killer. I think it keeps people in their places.
It does.
And I, you know, I just think that like ultimately, you know, you need to back yourself at some point. You need to have hope.
Yeah.
You know, and if not, then like why are we here?
Yeah.
Like for what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like why did we get beamed down onto this planet to do what?
Exactly.
And so that's kind of one of the things that I really appreciate about being an American, that I really love. It is hard to stay in touch with it when you're when you're not with, you know,
with your peeps.
Yeah, when I'm not with my people, which is why regular trips home to kind of like fill me up.
Because here you get right then. Like, you know, it's of course it's going to be hard. Because like after a few of those situations, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to see her this time.
And I feel the same way when I come back from the US. I mean, I come back with whiter teeth, but I also come back with a lot more. Because those crest strips are great, by the way. No, I come back with a lot more hope, and I feel like I've been poured into. Like even speaking about your achievements, you get that hype from people, and it's just fantastic. And we both agree with you. There is a bit of a very air of cynicism here. Oh yeah, and that's literally why we wanted you to come on the pod and to cover this, because we have a lot of young listeners, and we're like, don't let your hope die just yet. Yeah, there is a lot of hope for you,
and young listeners who are now creating their like personal brand or like, you know, making their career and like stepping out there, and without having that like list of experience and like you need to be able to back yourself and be like, but I want to do this and talk highly about yourself. And because we are not naturally taught that over here. I'm not even from here, but like exactly. Not really where I'm from either. Like so it's who's going to do it if not you? Well, the society preferably, but we don't really.
Well, I mean, you know, I think that there's like a few things owing to it. You know, I think that being a country that is largely comprised of immigrants, you know, you come from a legacy of people that really don't have anything to lose by trying. You know, and certainly for me, that's the case. Like, you know, my grandparents immigrated to the United States. You know, did they know that it was going to be not super welcoming of them? Yeah. But you know what? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, they've come from, you know, another country of imperial legacy, of deprivation. And, you know, to this other one where they're going to at least have a go of like making a real life for themselves. And they did that, but they did that because they put themselves out there. And because they decided to believe in themselves and to buy into the possibility that they could be right. They could be really good. And that, you know, the background that they had of poverty, of low education, of oppression, all of those things aren't going to be the things that define them, that they actually are going to be defining themselves. And I think that that's like a real kind of like American quality that's been carried forward. I definitely have, you know, always felt that way, not necessarily consciously because I was thinking about my grandparents or whatever, but I think that it's just kind of a feature of American culture. Like, no one's going to decide who you are and what you can and can't do.
Totally.
And I've never felt that way. And whenever people even start like erring into that territory with me, I'm just like, oh no.
Stop.
No.
Stop right there.
And I feel as an immigrant to the UK, obviously it's different. You know, it's very different to what my grandparents experienced. My experience as an immigrant will be very different to yours. Will be very different to other people who've immigrated. Yours as well. But I noticed that even then I feel it kind of kicking into gear for me where I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I know that I'm going to be like a little bit on the back foot here because I'm not, you know, a complete insider.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to really like graft. And at some point that means I'm really going to have to buy into my own shit.
Yeah.
And
believe in yourself.
So how do we do this?
How are we more how are we more American? Because I actually do really resonate with your story, because my dad specifically came from Africa to here, and he came here with an American dream, but he's in England.
So that got squashed really.
Exactly. No, but he retired at 40. Which he didn't let anyone define him. He started from the bottom. He worked his way up. He didn't let people tell him, you know, where he should be. He didn't let his class put him down. He got there, and that's why I really resonate with Americans, because that's the father that I grew up with, you know, like very much. I mean, he gave me the Olivia Pope speech, which is you have to work twice as hard for half as much. And he was very honest with me, but he was like, if you're working hard, you will get there, darling. And how do people who haven't had that, because I'm very lucky and I think that that's a privilege in itself to have my father be like that, how are they more American? People who just look at Americans and go, oh, that's cool, but oh, I don't know, like
how would I do that here?
I mean, I think that
I can't do it.
There's probably a few things, and I'll probably miss some, but I think the first is really getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Love that.
Get comfortable with being seen to try and fail.
Yeah.
And if other people are taking pops at you from the side going, oh my God, I can't believe she did that.
It's cringy. It's icky.
Yeah, it's cringy, it's icky. Okay, well, what are you doing?
Yeah. I always say being cringy, being icky is so much better than being mean.
Yeah, definitely. Like no one is born walking.
No.
Like
my mom says that.
Yeah, it's the truth though. No one's born walking. You're gonna have to do that. Like, so get used to being uncomfortable. Get used to saying, I don't know. And ask the questions. Ask the questions, because if you don't, then
I'm being way too hit over here. Like, because literally I am like so afraid of failing and like asking questions and looking stupid. And I don't know what has hurt me. Like, but it must be like a situation where someone's been like, you are so stupid. Like, you know,
really?
like or several situations, or someone in my life has continuously done so. But all those things that you said, push through those, it's literally
get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Like, but the more they're like dare to fail and dare to like ask questions. I hear it and I'm like, that feels impossible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one thing that you can do to help you kind of overcome that, you know, because I believe you that someone has told you that for sure. That has given you that feedback 1,000%. Because whenever I compare notes with like my husband, because he's British, about his experiences versus mine, I'm like, I cannot believe teachers speak to you the way that they do. Like, oh my God. Like there's just, and I'm not saying that like, you know, that discipline isn't a thing, or that like sometimes you got to like check people, but like there's a way to do that and there's a way not to. And so I believe you when you say that, but
I believe it too.
I think a way to overcome it is you need to start finding a way to really feel yourself. Like you need to really, and I know again, this is hard because for women, like, you know, there's always someone that's like, she's pretty and she knows it.
She thinks she's all that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that one really gets me. And I think and a great example is one where we both really sort of kind of bonded over this was when Ilona Mayhurst was asked about imposter syndrome, and she's like,
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Why are you telling me about this? Like, well, you wouldn't ask someone else this. Why are you asking me this? And that rejection of what people put onto you, I think, is one of the places where people can really pick up on that and grow from it. And that, and having more Americans around you.
No, I mean, like, but that is the thing. Like, imposter syndrome is manufactured.
It's manufactured
to try and undermine women's own self-confidence. People who bring up imposter syndrome are usually people who are uncomfortable around you, who are uncomfortable with your success or your comfort with yourself. So just whenever you encounter shit like that, like just take it for what it is, which is like, oh, you're uncomfortable right now. Like Alona's totally right. Own your success. And I have to say, like, Alona is also a Northern New England gal. She grew up really close to where I'm from. Like, you know, I would posit that we probably had a similar upbringing, you know, going to public schools, American public, not British public. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of like a normal middle class family, very community oriented place Burlington, Vermont is. You know, some of my greatest teachers, you know, the people who've sponsored me in my career are from Burlington. So there is a bit of a connection there.
Yeah.
But, you know, Alona does that too, though, right? Like her thing is she's got to feel herself.
Yes.
And so, you know, I went to see her play on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Galentine's.
Yeah.
And everyone in the stand was wearing lipstick.
Yeah. The red
And
lipstick.
and I was just like,
It's a signature. You're wearing lipstick.
right? I mean, I think we're all wearing lipstick, maybe.
Lip gloss.
Yeah. But you know, like she does that because she knows that she's got to feel herself. And so that's the thing is like, that requires you to kind of know yourself at least enough. So that when you take those hits, when you get those knockbacks, when you experience failures, when, you know, people are sitting back and, you know, taking swipes at you or whatever, it's not eroding your sense of self. Because you know who you are fundamentally and you know what you have to offer and you have a way to love yourself through it. And to forgive yourself through it and to put your hand up and say like, yeah, I kind of fucked this up actually.
I think that is such a good learning because no one does that. Like, yes, people will admit to failures, but in like 15 years time.
But
like never when it happens.
It's exactly masculine though.
I think one thing you mentioned earlier, especially coming to failure, is that your mum says no one is born knowing anything. And I said that my mum says that. But then my mum also has another saying, which is the devil does his best work on social media.
Yeah.
And
are you the devil then?
But since we're here talking about LinkedIn and bigging yourself and talking about that and knowing that,
which is so icky for many people.
So icky for many people.
We want people to show up.
The devil does his best work on social media comes from a place where my mother, and this is what a lot of people who come from certain backgrounds, especially brown and black backgrounds or Middle Eastern backgrounds like myself, can relate to, is the evil eye. And one of the things that I know that we've spoken about before is because they have that in Albanian culture too. And Hannah had no idea what it was.
I had no idea what the evil eye was.
They don't have it in Swedish culture. So we had to explain to her what the evil eye was.
Well, explain it again for those who are
explain it again.
Me.
I mean, Allison, why don't you explain what the evil eye is? And before we go into exactly.
I mean, for me, like, and it could be different for you, you know, because again, like this traverses many cultures.
It really does.
So, and I will say I'm half Albanian, and you know, was raised to be very proud of that culture. And for me, I'm reaffirming that and reasserting it through carrying the language through my family and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm super proud of it, and also just pushing back on the ways that the media has tried to define us as a people. Because we're more than that. But the evil eye for me is really just more than anything else like envy. Envy and jealousy.
That's how I define it too.
It is some covetous look or feel that follows you. And I would say that the evil eye is always there. So this isn't about like, you know, like spitting at the devil, which Albanians also do. Like
or salt over your shoulders.
Which my nana also did. Over the left shoulder.
Just get rid of it.
Of course. There's loads of things that you can do. You know, but I think fundamentally it's always there. I think the thing about the evil eye, which I've been reflecting on a lot, especially leading up to this conversation, was it's always going to be there. But the minute that you start getting concerned and preoccupied with that, you're not focusing on the things that you need to focus on, which is you. And that's not to say that, you know, be hyper individualistic. There's no such thing as community or collective. No. This is about, again, knowing who you are, what you have to offer, what you bear to bring in the community, and making sure that you're getting what you need back. Right? And it may not be everything, because everyone can't meet all your needs at any given point in time. And that's, again, not what we're here for. But it's about making sure that you understand what are your needs, how are you going to get them met. But the evil eye is always there. And it is a distraction.
I agree. It's something not to be fixated on at all.
Exactly. And so that's why I think people wear like an evil eye. Like I've got an evil eye.
Evil eye and then on.
Yeah, the eyewear. And I think it's a helpful reminder.
It is a reminder.
You know, again, to not get distracted by that stuff. Don't get distracted by the people that are watching you from the side like this.
Yeah.
Let them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let them.
I agree.
They've got their own journey. You know, maybe therapy is in their future. Who knows? But worry about your future. Worry about, you know, cultivating your garden, your goodness, you know, like we all have something to bear that's like a really beautiful gift. And it's incumbent on all of us to figure out what that is, not to play small to make other people feel comfortable or safe.
Yeah.
You know, and again, like as long as you're doing this in an informed way, like get your facts, get the full picture, you know, and as long as you're doing it with real integrity, you know, for the betterment of society, that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
Everything else is just whatever else. You know what I mean? Like, let your freak flag fly, though.
I agree. And being hyper visible can be a really good thing, especially if you're starting out. Like we spoke about hope earlier. It was one of the best ways to see and actually have hope.
Yeah.
Show up.
Yeah.
You know, I think I said on another podcast episode, make a ruckus. Like the
ruckus.
evil eye is, it's everywhere. Like, I mean, literally there is, I think the impressions thing is an eye on it. Like it's there, but you can't let that hold you back.
No,
you can't at all. So,
and we have to start wrapping up. So is there any like last words you want to share with our audience about like your work that you do in diversity, inclusion and equity, or
is there any
about like the Americanism that we need to bring in?
Final words of wisdom from Allison Gilbert.
Final words of wisdom are read the media wisely. Vet your sources. Be careful out there now, because we are living in a time of great upheaval, where we have access to more resources than ever to manipulate one another and to get us to turn against one another. Yeah, the landscape for DE&I is definitely changing. The language is changing. You know, the kind of corridors that we're navigating are shifting very quickly. But, you know, resistance can be found in looking outward, bringing your gifts to bear for other people, you know, doing it again in a real fact-based way, doing it with real integrity. And just to know what your rights are. Know your rights.
Yes, know your rights. That's a good one.
Know your rights, actually.
Know your rights, people.
You know, don't let people push you around. And that's kind of what this is about. You know, this is about you and your career. Don't let people push you around. Don't let people define who you are and what you can and can't do and who you're going to become. And you know, equally, like, stand shoulder to shoulder with people. And you know, that's why this is happening to us right now in the US and around the West right now, is because what we've been doing works. Women buying into their own shit works. Title IX works. I cannot believe that it's 2025 and there's nothing like Title IX in the UK.
I know.
You know, shame on all of the House of Commons and Parliament for that.
Maybe we could do an episode in the future about that.
Yes, I would love to do an episode about that, because
so you'll come back. Yes, you'll come back. We'd love to have you back.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Allison. You've covered some amazing gems, and this is going to be one of the most exciting episodes. I can't wait to put it out.
And I can't wait to become more American.
I'm doing my best.
No, you don't have to be more American. You just have to be more you. And that's what it's about.
Fair enough.
Agreed.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Ew.